The alarm screamed through the research station as Dr. Elena Vasquez ran down the metal corridor. Behind her, explosions shook the walls and sent sparks flying from broken cables. The lights flickered and went out, leaving only the red emergency glow to guide her way. "Computer, what's the status of the escape pods?" she called out, her voice shaking. "All escape pods have been destroyed," the computer replied in its calm voice. "Hull breach detected in sections 7 through 12. Life support failing." Elena's heart sank. She had been studying alien plant samples when the attack began. The Kythera had found their hidden research station in the asteroid belt. These brutal aliens took prisoners to use as slaves, and Elena had heard the stories. Death was better than what they did to their captives. She reached the main lab and sealed the door behind her. Through the thick window she could see the Kythera ships. They looked like giant metal spiders with red lights for eyes. Their weapons cut through the station's armor like it was paper. "Emergency beacon activated," the computer announced. "Distress signal broadcasting on all frequencies." Elena laughed bitterly. The nearest human patrol was 3 days away. She would be dead in 3 hours when her air ran out. The Kythera would probably leave once they realized there was nothing valuable here. She sat down at her desk and began recording a message. "This is Dr. Elena Vasquez, Xenobiologist, Research Station Kepler 7. We are under attack by Kythera forces. All crew presumed dead. I am the only survivor. To whoever finds this message, the plant samples in Storage Unit 12 contain important data about their biological weapons. Don't let my work die with me." The station shuddered as another explosion rocked the hull. Cracks appeared in the lab window. Elena closed her eyes and waited. Time passed slowly. The air grew thin and stale. Elena's head began to pound from lack of oxygen. She had maybe an hour left. At least the Kythera ships had left. She checked the sensors and saw they were gone, probably thinking the station was completely destroyed. Then something appeared on her screen. A small ship unlike anything she had ever seen. It wasn't human, but it definitely wasn't Kythera either. The ship looked almost organic, like it had been grown instead of built. It was pale green with smooth curves and no visible weapons. "Unknown vessel, this is Research Station Kepler 7. Elena transmitted weakly. "I am the only survivor. Life support failing. Please help." The alien ship moved closer. Elena could see it through her cracked window now. It was beautiful in a strange way, covered in patterns that reminded her of leaves. A voice came through her radio, speaking in musical tones she couldn't understand. "I don't understand your language," Elena said into her transmitter. "But if you can hear me, I need help. My air is running out." The alien ship attached itself to her station with a soft thump. Elena heard sounds from the corridor. Someone was cutting through the sealed door. Her vision was getting blurry from the bad air, but she managed to stand up. The door opened with a hiss of escaping gas. Fresh air flowed in, and Elena took deep, grateful breaths. In the doorway stood the strangest being she had ever seen. The alien was tall and thin, with pale green skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. Its face was gentle, with large, dark eyes and a small mouth. It had 4 arms instead of 2, and its hands ended in delicate fingers that looked perfect for handling small objects. Most surprising of all, it seemed young, maybe even a teenager by human standards. The alien spoke in those musical tones again, then gestured for Elena to follow. She grabbed her emergency bag and the datapad with her research, then stumbled after her rescuer. The alien ship's interior was unlike anything Elena had imagined. The walls seemed to be made of living wood, and soft light came from panels that looked like giant flower petals. The air smelled fresh and clean like a forest after rain. The alien guided Elena to what looked like a medical bay. The beds were soft and curved to fit a body comfortably. The alien pointed to one of the beds and made gentle pushing motions. Elena understood and lay down. Her rescuer began treating her wounds with tools that seemed to be grown rather than manufactured. A gentle humming filled the air, and Elena felt her pain fading away. The alien was clearly skilled at healing, even though it had probably never seen a human before. Over the next few hours, Elena and the alien tried to communicate. The alien pointed to itself and made a sound like Zeth. Elena pointed to herself and said Elena slowly. Zeth repeated her name with a slight musical accent. Using drawings and gestures, they began to understand each other. Zeth was from a species called the Nithkai. Elena learned that Zeth was young and had been on their first solo journey when they detected her distress signal. Zeth had never seen humans before but couldn't ignore someone in trouble. Elena tried to warn Zeth about the Kythera, drawing pictures of their spider-like ships and making threatening gestures. Zeth's eyes grew wide with fear and sadness. Elena realized that Zeth's people might not even know about warfare or slavery. Through more drawings, Elena learned that the Nithkai lived on a peaceful world covered in forests. They had only recently developed space travel and were just beginning to explore nearby star systems. Zeth showed her pictures of their home, beautiful cities that grew from living trees with his people living in harmony with nature. Elena felt both grateful and worried. Zeth had saved her life, but now she wondered if she had put this innocent alien in danger just by being rescued. The Kythera were always looking for new species to enslave, and the peaceful Nithkai would be perfect targets. Days passed as they traveled toward human space. Elena's rescue beacon was still broadcasting, and Zeth's ship was carrying her toward the patrol routes where human ships might find them. During the journey, Elena and Zeth became friends despite the language barrier. Zeth was curious about everything. Elena showed pictures of Earth, of human cities and technology. Zeth seemed amazed by human diversity and the way humans lived in so many different environments. In return, Zeth shared more about the Nithkai culture, showing Elena images of their art, their music, and their peaceful way of life. Elena began to understand that Zeth's people were everything the Kythera were not. Where the Kythera took by force, the Nithkai gave freely. Where the Kythera destroyed, the Nithkai created and nurtured. It made her angry to think that the Kythera might someday find Zeth's world. Finally, they were found by a human patrol ship. Elena felt relief wash over her as she saw the familiar lines of the human cruiser approaching. But she also felt sadness. Soon she would have to say goodbye to the gentle alien who had risked everything to save a stranger. As the human ship docked with Zeth's vessel, Elena turned to her rescuer. She took Zeth's 4 hands in her 2 and looked into those large, kind eyes. "Thank you," she said slowly. "You saved my life. I will never forget this." Zeth seemed to understand. The alien made soft musical sounds that Elena somehow knew meant friend and safe journey. As Elena prepared to transfer to the human ship, she made a promise to herself. Somehow, someway, she would make sure that humanity remembered this kindness, and if the Kythera ever threatened Zeth's people, she would find a way to return the favor. She had no idea that her promise would soon change the fate of the entire galaxy. 18 months had passed since Elena's rescue, but she still woke up thinking about Zeth. The gentle alien had returned to Nithkai space after their meeting, but they stayed in contact through long-range transmissions. Elena had learned enough of their language to have simple conversations, and human scientists had built translation devices based on the recordings she made. Elena now worked at the Human Intelligence Division, headquarters on Mars. Her small office was filled with data, screens showing star maps, alien ship designs, and intelligence reports. She had become humanity's leading expert on the Kythera threat, and what she had learned scared her. "The situation is worse than we thought," Elena told Admiral Sarah Chen during their morning briefing. "The Kythera Empire is huge. They control over 300 star systems." Admiral Chen studied the holographic map floating between them. Red dots marked Kythera-controlled worlds, and there were far too many of them. "How many species have they enslaved?" "At least 47 that we know of," Elena replied. "Maybe more. They've been building this empire for over 200 years. Most of the galaxy either serves them or hides from them." Elena touched a control, and the map zoomed in on a section near human space. "The Nithkai homeworld is here. Zeth tells me that Kythera scouts have been seen in their system. It's only a matter of time before they attack." Admiral Chen's face was grim. "What do we know about their military capabilities?" "They're not fighters by nature," Elena explained. "The Nithkai are peaceful. They have no weapons, no military, no concept of warfare. They wouldn't last a day against the Kythera." Elena pulled up another display showing different alien species. "This is the pattern we see everywhere. The Kythera target peaceful species first. They avoid anyone who might fight back until they're strong enough to crush all resistance." "And they consider us a future target?" Elena nodded. "According to our intelligence, humanity is on their acquisition list. They're just waiting until they finish conquering the local sectors. They think we'll be easy prey because we're isolated and haven't joined any galactic alliances." Admiral Chen smiled coldly. "They're going to be very surprised." Elena's communicator beeped with an incoming transmission. The symbol on the screen made her heart race. It was from Zeth. But this wasn't their usual scheduled contact time. "Excuse me, Admiral. This might be important." Elena accepted the transmission and Zeth's familiar face appeared on her screen. But something was wrong. Zeth looked frightened and their normally calm voice was shaking as they spoke in their musical language. "Elena, friend, I bring terrible news," the translation computer said. "The dark ships have come to our system. Many ships like metal spiders with red eyes. They attack our outer colonies. Our people flee to the forests, but the dark ones follow. They take our families, our children. We cannot fight them. We do not know how to fight." Elena's blood ran cold. "Zeth, how long do you have?" "Perhaps 10 of your days before they reach our homeworld. We have hidden as many as we can in the deep forests, but they have machines that find us. Elena, my friend, we are lost. I wanted to say goodbye." The transmission ended. Elena stared at the blank screen, her hands shaking with anger and grief. Zeth had saved her life, had shown her nothing but kindness, and now their people were being hunted like animals. Admiral Chen had been listening to the translation. "I'm sorry, Elena, but there's nothing we can do. The Nithkai system is 300 light-years away. Even if we sent every ship we have, we couldn't reach them in time." Elena stood up abruptly. "We have to try something. Elena, be realistic. We can't risk exposing our capabilities for one species. If we reveal how advanced our military is, the Kithara will move against us before we're ready. So we just let them die?" Elena's voice was rising. "These people saved my life. They've never hurt anyone. They don't even understand what war is. I know this is hard, but we have to think about humanity's survival first." Elena was quiet for a long moment, staring at the star map. Then she looked up at Admiral Chen with determination in her eyes. "Request permission to address the Defense Council." Admiral Chen sighed. "Elena, they're not going to authorize a military operation to save one alien species. Then I'll make them understand why they should." 2 hours later, Elena stood before the 12 members of the Human Defense Council in their secure chamber deep underground. These men and women made the decisions that determined humanity's future among the stars. Elena began by telling them about her rescue, about Zeth's kindness and courage. She showed them recordings of Nithkai culture, their art, their peaceful way of life. She explained how they had developed space travel not for conquest but for exploration, driven by curiosity and wonder. "The Nithkai represent everything we claim to value," Elena said. "They're peaceful, creative, and kind. They saved one of us without asking for anything in return. Now they're being destroyed by the same empire that threatens us." Council Chairman Harrison spoke first. "Dr. Vasquez, we sympathize with your feelings. But our first duty is to protect humanity. We can't risk our security for aliens we barely know." "With respect, sir, I think you're wrong about the risk," Elena replied. She called up a new display showing human military capabilities compared to Kithara forces. "Our intelligence suggests we're much stronger than the Kithara realize. They've been conquering peaceful species for so long that they've forgotten how to fight real wars." Elena continued her presentation, showing tactical analyses and strategic projections. "A limited military action could accomplish 2 goals. We save the Nithkai, and we send a message to the Kithara that humanity is not an easy target." Councilwoman Santos leaned forward. "You're talking about revealing our true military strength. Once we do that, we can't take it back." "Maybe it's time to stop hiding," Elena said. "The Kithara Empire exists because good people do nothing while evil spreads. Every species they conquer makes them stronger and us weaker. Where does it end?" The council members looked at each other uncertainly. Finally, Admiral Chen spoke up. "If we're going to do this, we need to do it right. Not just a rescue mission, but a statement of principle. We show the galaxy that there's an alternative to Kithara rule." Elena felt hope rising in her chest. "What are you suggesting?" "A liberation operation. We don't just save the Nithkai. We free every enslaved species in that sector and offer them protection under human alliance." Chairman Harrison looked shocked. "That would mean war with the Kithara Empire." "Sir," Elena said quietly, "that war is coming whether we start it or not. The question is whether we fight it on our terms or theirs." The council debated for hours. Elena answered their questions, provided data, and argued her case with everything she had. Finally, they called for a vote. The result was unanimous. "Dr. Vasquez," Chairman Harrison said formally, "the Human Defense Council authorizes Operation Reciprocal. You are hereby appointed as Special Advisor for Alien Relations with authority to coordinate humanitarian aspects of the mission." Elena felt tears in her eyes. Thank you, all of you. As the council members filed out, Admiral Chen approached Elena. You realize what you've just started, don't you? Elena nodded, thinking of Zeth and their people hiding in the forests while Kithara hunters closed in. Yes, but Zeth saved one of us. Now we're going back for all of them. Admiral Chen smiled. Then we'd better get to work. We have a galaxy to liberate. That night, Elena sent a coded message to Zeth. Hold on, friend. Help is coming. The hidden shipyards around Saturn worked day and night. Elena watched from the observation deck as thousands of workers assembled the largest fleet humanity had ever built. But this wasn't just any fleet. These ships were designed for something that had never been tried before. On such a scale, liberating an entire galactic sector. The first Liberation-class ships will be ready in 2 months, said Dr. Marcus Webb, the chief engineer. We've redesigned everything based on your specifications. Elena studied the sleek vessels taking shape in the construction bays. They looked different from normal warships, less threatening, more purposeful. Tell me about the modifications. Marcus activated a holographic display showing the ship designs. Each Liberation ship has 3 main sections. The front contains our new precision weapons. They can disable enemy systems without destroying the ships completely. We want to capture Kithara vessels, not vaporize them. He pointed to the middle section. This is the medical bay. We've expanded it to handle multiple alien species. Dr. Kim's team has been working with Zeth to understand Nithkai biology, and we've extrapolated medical protocols for 43 other known enslaved species. Elena was impressed. And the rear section? Cargo and transport. Each ship can carry 5,000 freed slaves plus food, medical supplies, and basic infrastructure equipment. We're not just liberating worlds, we're helping them rebuild. Elena nodded approvingly. This was exactly what she had hoped for. Operation Reciprocal wasn't about conquest or revenge. It was about giving enslaved species a chance to be free. What about the translation systems? Elena asked. Marcus led her to another part of the facility where linguists and programmers worked together. We've made huge progress. Zeth has been incredibly helpful, providing recordings of 47 different alien languages they've encountered. Our universal translators can now handle basic communication with most species. Elena was amazed by how much they had accomplished in just 2 months. How many ships will we have? 200 Liberation-class ships, 50 medical vessels, 100 support craft, and 30 command ships. Plus Admiral Chen's battle group for heavy combat if needed. The scale was staggering. Elena walked through the training facilities where thousands of volunteers prepared for the mission. These weren't just soldiers, they were doctors, engineers, teachers, and diplomats. People who wanted to help rebuild freed worlds. She stopped at one training bay where human medics practiced treating different alien body types using sophisticated simulators. In another area, engineers learned to repair alien technology without damaging it. Everywhere she looked, humans were preparing to help rather than harm. Dr. Vasquez, called a familiar voice. Elena turned to see Zeth approaching, accompanied by 2 other Nithkai. Her alien friend looked tired but determined. Zeth, I didn't know you had arrived. My people sent a small delegation to help with the preparations, Zeth explained through the translator device. We know our world better than anyone. We want to help plan the liberation. Elena was touched. Despite the danger to their homeworld, Zeth had traveled to human space to assist in the rescue mission. How are things at home? Zeth's expression grew sad. The Kithara have taken control of our 3 main cities. Millions of our people hide in the deep forests, but the Dark Ones send hunting machines to find them. Many have been captured. Elena placed a comforting hand on Zeth's shoulder. We're going to get them back. All of them. Zeth's companion stepped forward. Elena was introduced to Vaya, an expert on Nithkai geography, and Kren, who had escaped from a Kithara slave facility and could provide intelligence about their operations. Kren has valuable information about how the Kithara organize their slave-taking operations, Zeth explained. They use the same methods on every world they conquer. Elena brought the Nithkai delegation to the Strategic Planning Center, where Admiral Chen was coordinating with her staff. The Admiral looked up as they entered. Dr. Vasquez, perfect timing. We were just discussing target priorities. The planning center was filled with holographic displays showing the Kithara-controlled sector. Red markers indicated enemy positions while blue showed friendly forces. It looked overwhelming. Hundreds of Kythera ships spread across dozens of star systems. The key is simultaneous strikes, Admiral Chen explained. If we attack one world at a time, the Kythera will have time to move their slaves or call for reinforcements. We need to hit 17 systems at once. Elena studied the battle plan. That spreads our forces pretty thin. True, but it maximizes the shock value. The Kythera have never faced coordinated resistance from freed slaves. We're betting that once we start liberating worlds, the enslaved populations will help us. Kren spoke up through the translator. The Kythera rely on fear and isolation. They keep different species separated and convince them that resistance is hopeless. But if they see others fighting back successfully, it could start a rebellion that spreads across their entire empire. Admiral Chen finished. That's the idea. Elena looked at the timeline displayed on the main screen. How long do we have before the Nithkai homeworld falls completely? 6 weeks, maybe 7, Seth replied sadly. The deep forests provide good hiding places, but the Kythera are very persistent. Admiral Chen nodded grimly. Then we launch in 5 weeks. Operation Reciprocal goes active in 35 days. Over the following weeks, Elena worked closely with the Nithkai delegation to refine the liberation plans. Vaya provided detailed maps of the homeworld, showing where captured Nithkai were being held. Kren described Kythera slave processing facilities and how to disable them quickly. Elena also spent time developing what she called liberation protocols, guidelines for how human forces should interact with newly freed species. The goal was to help without dominating, to protect without controlling. We're not trying to build a human empire, Elena explained to a group of Liberation Corps volunteers. We're trying to show the galaxy that there's an alternative to the Kythera way. We help species become free and independent, not dependent on us. One volunteer raised her hand. What if some species don't want our help? Then we leave them alone, Elena replied firmly. Freedom includes the right to choose your own path. We offer aid and protection, but we never force it. As the launch date approached, Elena received regular updates from Zeth about conditions on the homeworld. The news was getting worse. The Kythera had built massive processing centers where captured Nithkai were prepared for transport to slave worlds. Families were being separated, and many had already been shipped off-world. We need to move faster, Elena told Admiral Chen during one of their final planning meetings. The fleet launches in 4 days. That's the absolute earliest we can be ready. Elena knew the Admiral was right, but every day of delay meant more Nithkai would be lost. She sent encouraging messages to Zeth, but she worried they were running out of time. Finally, launch day arrived. Elena stood on the bridge of the command ship New Horizon as the massive fleet prepared to depart. Through the viewports, she could see hundreds of ships stretching into the distance. Each one carried human volunteers ready to risk their lives for people they had never met. Admiral Chen called for attention on the ship-wide communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Today we begin Operation Reciprocal. We're not going out there to conquer or control. We're going to show the galaxy what humanity stands for. We save those who cannot save themselves. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. And we remember that someone once saved one of us. Elena felt tears in her eyes as the fleet jumped to hyperspace. Beside her, Zeth watched human space disappear with hope and fear in their large eyes. Thank you, Elena, friend, Zeth said quietly. Whatever happens, you have already done more than we ever dared to hope. Elena gripped the railing as the ship accelerated toward the battle zone. We're not done yet, Zeth. We're just getting started. In hyperspace, 300 human ships raced toward their destiny, carrying with them the hopes of countless enslaved beings across the galaxy. The largest rescue mission in galactic history had begun. The attack began at exactly 0800 Galactic Standard Time across 17 star systems. Elena watched from the bridge of New Horizon as human ships dropped out of hyperspace around the Nithkai homeworld. Their weapons already targeting Kythera vessels. All ships. This is Admiral Chen, came the voice over the communication system. Operation Reciprocal is now active. Remember, disable, don't destroy. We want prisoners, not debris. The Kythera were caught completely off guard. Their spider-like ships had been lazily patrolling the system, confident that no one would dare challenge their authority. They were wrong. Human ships moved with deadly precision, their new weapons systems targeting Kythera engines and communications arrays. The enemy ships found themselves helpless within minutes, floating dead in space while human boarding parties prepared to take control. Elena, look at this, called Lieutenant Torres from the communication station. "We're getting transmissions from the surface. The Nithkai are coming out of hiding." Elena listened to the translated messages flooding in from the planet below. Nithkai voices, filled with hope and disbelief, were reporting that the dark ships had stopped moving. Word was spreading through the forests that help had finally arrived. "Zeth, can you contact your people?" Elena asked her alien friend. Zeth was already at the communication console, speaking rapidly in their musical language. Soon familiar voices were responding. Zeth's family members who had been hiding in the deep forests for weeks. "They say the Kithara ground forces are in chaos," Zeth translated excitedly. "The hunting machines have stopped working. The processing centers are shutting down." Admiral Chen's voice came over the intercom again. "Landing operations are go. All Liberation Corps teams to your transports." Elena grabbed her equipment bag and headed for the transport bay. As Special Advisor for Alien Relations, she would be in the first wave of landing craft, helping to coordinate the rescue of captured Nithkai. The transport ship was packed with human volunteers, medics, engineers, linguists, and security personnel. All of them had trained for this moment, but Elena could see the nervousness in their faces. They were about to land on an alien world to help beings they had never met. "Remember your training," Elena told them as they descended toward the planet's surface. "The Nithkai are peaceful and frightened. Move slowly, speak calmly, and let them see that we're here to help." The transport landed near one of the Kythera processing centers. Elena was the first person off the ship, followed by her team of specialists. The facility was massive, a sprawling complex of metal buildings surrounded by force fields that kept prisoners inside. Human engineers were already working to shut down the force field generators. As the barriers flickered and died, Elena saw movement inside the compound. Hundreds of Nithkai emerged cautiously from the buildings, their pale green skin marked with the scars of captivity. Zeth ran ahead of Elena, calling out in their own language. The response was immediate. Nithkai voices raised in joy and relief as they recognized one of their own. Families rushed forward to embrace Zeth, their musical voices creating a chorus of gratitude. Elena watched human medics moving among the freed prisoners, treating injuries and providing food and water. The Nithkai were initially frightened of the human strangers, but they soon realized these aliens were there to help. Dr. Vasquez called Dr. Kim, the chief medical officer. "We've got over 3,000 Nithkai in this facility alone. Many are malnourished, but they're alive." Elena felt a surge of satisfaction. 3,000 lives saved. And this was just one facility on one world. But she knew the real work was just beginning. Reports flooded in from across the 17 targeted systems. Human forces had successfully disabled Kythera defenses on all targeted worlds. Millions of enslaved beings were being freed. Not just Nithkai, but dozens of other species that had been captured over the years. Elena received a communication from Admiral Chen. "Elena, you need to see this. We're getting responses from species we didn't even know about." Elena hurried to the command center that had been set up near the landing site. The communication equipment was buzzing with incoming messages from across the sector. The universal translators were working overtime, converting dozens of alien languages into human speech. "This is the Veltar resistance on Crystal World Zephyr," came one transmission. "We see the dark ships are disabled. Are you the ones who freed the tree people?" "Mare High refugees calling human fleet," said another voice. "We have been hiding in the deep ocean trenches for 20 cycles. Can you help us reclaim our cities?" Elena was amazed. Word of the liberation was spreading faster than they had hoped. Species that had been in hiding for decades were emerging to ask for help. But the most important news came from deep space. Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the radio with excitement. "Elena, we've got movement on long-range sensors. A massive Kythera fleet is heading this way. It looks like we got their attention." Elena felt her stomach tighten with worry. "How long do we have?" 6 hours, maybe 7. "It's the biggest fleet we've ever seen. At least 200 ships, including their command vessels." Elena looked around at the thousands of Nithkai who were still being evacuated from the processing facilities. They needed more time. "Admiral, we can't evacuate everyone in 6 hours." "I know. That's why we're going to make a stand. All human ships are forming up for battle." "But Elena, I need you to coordinate with the freed species. We're going to need their help." Elena understood immediately. This wasn't just about human ships fighting Kythera forces. For the first time in galactic history, enslaved species were going to fight back against their oppressors. She opened communication channels to all the worlds they had liberated. "This is Dr. Elena Vasquez of the Human Liberation Fleet. The Kythera are sending a massive force to recapture you. We're going to fight them, but we need your help." The response was immediate and overwhelming. The Veltar had ships hidden in asteroid fields. The Merhai had underwater bases with advanced weapons. The Nithkai had detailed knowledge of Kythera weak points. Dozens of other species offered whatever help they could provide. Zeth appeared at Elena's side, their usual calm demeanor replaced by fierce determination. "My people want to fight. We may be peaceful, but we will not be slaves again." Elena was touched by the courage of these gentle beings. "Zeth, your people don't have weapons or military training." "No, but we know this system better than anyone. We can guide your ships through the asteroid fields, help them avoid Kythera sensors." Elena nodded and passed the offer to Admiral Chen. Within hours, a plan was forming. The human fleet would engage the Kythera in open battle, while freed slaves provided support, intelligence, supplies, and tactical assistance. As the enemy fleet approached, Elena watched the preparations from the command center. Human ships took defensive positions while alien allies prepared to help in whatever way they could. It was a sight that had never been seen before in galactic history. Humans and aliens working together as equals, fighting for freedom rather than conquest. The Kythera fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, confident in their overwhelming numbers. Their commander immediately broadcast a demand for surrender. "Human fleet, you have interfered with Kythera property. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Admiral Chen's response was calm and clear. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Liberation Fleet. The only one surrendering today will be you. These beings are no one's property." The battle began with a massive exchange of fire between the two fleets. But something happened that the Kythera had never experienced before. As their ships engaged the humans, they found themselves attacked from unexpected directions. Veltar ships emerged from asteroid hiding places, their crystal-based weapons cutting through Kythera armor. Merhai submarines launched attacks from the planet's oceans. Even the peaceful Nithkai contributed, using their knowledge of the system to guide human ships into perfect ambush positions. Elena watched the battle unfold with growing amazement. The Kythera had ruled through fear and isolation, keeping their slaves separated and hopeless. But now, for the first time, those slaves were fighting back together. The tide of battle turned when the Kythera command ship found itself surrounded. Admiral Chen had used intelligence provided by freed slaves to identify and target the enemy leadership. With their commanders under attack, the Kythera fleet began to fall apart. Elena received a communication from the Kythera commander. The alien's voice was filled with shock and disbelief. "This is impossible. Slaves do not fight back. Slaves do not work together." Elena picked up the transmitter and responded personally. "They're not slaves anymore. They're free beings defending their homes, and this is just the beginning." The battle ended with the surrender of the remaining Kythera forces. For the first time in centuries, a Kythera fleet had been defeated not by another empire, but by the very people they had tried to enslave. Elena stood with Zeth on the observation deck, watching as human and alien ships worked together to secure the prisoners and begin rescue operations on the remaining enslaved worlds. "It is hard to believe," Zeth said quietly. "A few days ago my people were hiding in fear. Now we are free." 1 year later, Elena stood in the great assembly hall on the space station New Hope, watching representatives from 43 different species take their seats for the first meeting of the Galactic Liberation Council. The massive circular chamber had been designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes, from the tall, graceful Nithkai to the aquatic Merhai in their water-filled suits. "It's hard to believe this is real," Elena whispered to Zeth, who sat beside her as the official representative of the Nithkai people. "A year ago, my people were slaves," Zeth replied softly. "Now we help govern a galactic alliance. You humans have changed everything." Elena shook her head. "We all changed everything. Together." The space station itself was a symbol of this new cooperation. Built in record time using technology and resources contributed by dozens of species, It served as both the capital of the Free Species Alliance and a monument to what could be accomplished when beings worked together instead of against each other. Admiral Chen, now promoted to Fleet Admiral and serving as the Alliance's military coordinator, called the meeting to order. Representatives of the Free Species Alliance, welcome to our first annual council meeting. Dr. Elena Vasquez, our Galactic Liberation Ambassador, will present the year's report. Elena stood and activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared, showing the current state of the former Kythera Empire. 12 months ago, the Kythera controlled 300 star systems and held billions of beings in slavery. Elena began. Today, their empire has completely collapsed. Every enslaved species has been liberated, and the Kythera themselves are learning to live as equals rather than masters. A murmur of satisfaction ran through the assembled representatives. Elena continued her presentation, showing the rebuilding efforts across the galaxy. The Nithkai have restored their forest cities and are now helping other species develop sustainable agriculture. The Veltar have shared their crystal computing technology, advancing our communication systems by centuries. The Marahai are teaching us about ocean-based civilizations and helping us understand planets we once thought were uninhabitable. Elena paused, looking around the chamber at the diverse faces watching her. But perhaps most importantly, we've proven that an alliance based on cooperation rather than conquest can work. No species dominates others. Everyone contributes according to their abilities and receives help according to their needs. A representative from the insectoid Zekri species stood up. Ambassador Vasquez, what about the former Kythera territories? How do we prevent other empires from moving in to fill the power vacuum? Elena smiled. That's an excellent question, Representative Clicks. Fleet Admiral Chen? Admiral Chen activated another display showing fleet positions across the galaxy. The Alliance maintains rapid response fleets in key sectors. But our real strength isn't in our ships. It's in our network of allies. When word spreads that a planet is under attack, dozens of species respond to help. Elena added, we've seen this work in practice. 3 months ago, the Gorvak Empire attempted to enslave the newly freed Helan homeworld. Within days, rescue fleets arrived from 17 different Alliance worlds. The Gorvak withdrew without a fight. A new voice spoke up. Representative Vara of the Marahai. What about species that don't want to join the Alliance? We must respect their choice to remain independent. Absolutely, Elena agreed. The Alliance offers protection and cooperation, but membership is always voluntary. We currently have 43 member species and 12 independent worlds under our protection. We also provide humanitarian aid to any species that requests it, regardless of their political status. Zeth stood to address the assembly. I would like to speak about something important. A year ago, the human Elena Vasquez was rescued by my people when her ship was destroyed. This small act of kindness led to the liberation of our entire sector. It shows that every individual action matters. Elena felt tears forming in her eyes as Zeth continued. Today I am proud to announce that the Nithkai people wish to grant Dr. Elena Vasquez honorary citizenship in our nation. She has shown us that the strongest bonds are not made through conquest but through friendship. The assembly erupted in applause. Elena was deeply moved by the honor, but also by what it represented. She was no longer just a human helping aliens. She was a citizen of a truly galactic community. After the formal ceremonies, Elena walked through the station's recreation areas, watching the incredible sight of dozens of species interacting peacefully. Nithkai children played with young Veltar in crystalline playgrounds. Human musicians performed with Marahai singers, creating hauntingly beautiful music that no single species could have produced alone. She found Admiral Chen in the station's observation lounge, looking out at the ships of the Alliance fleet. The vessels came from dozens of different worlds, each designed according to the aesthetic and functional preferences of their builders. Yet they all flew together under the same banner. Proud of what we've built? Elena asked, joining the Admiral at the viewport. Amazed by it, Chen replied. When we launched Operation Reciprocal, I thought we were just conducting a rescue mission. I never imagined it would lead to this. Elena watched a group of mixed-species engineering teams working on a new type of ship that combined technologies from multiple civilizations. The Kythera made one critical mistake. They thought strength came from domination, but real strength comes from cooperation. Speaking of cooperation, Admiral Chen said, we've received some interesting intelligence reports. There are other slave empires in the far galactic arms. The Nexus hegemony controls over 1,000 worlds, and the Dominion fleet has enslaved entire sectors. Elena felt a familiar fire burning in her chest. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Admiral Chen smiled. The Alliance Council has authorized preliminary scouting missions. We're going to find out how many more enslaved species are out there. Elena nodded slowly. It won't be easy. These other empires will have learned from the Kithera's defeat. They'll be ready for us, that's true, but they won't be ready for what we've become. The Alliance isn't just humans with alien allies anymore. It's a true partnership of equals, each species contributing their unique strengths. Elena thought about the incredible progress they had made in just 1 year. The Veltar had revolutionized their computer systems. The Merhai had taught them new techniques for underwater construction and resource extraction. The Nithkai had shown them how to develop sustainable agriculture on previously barren worlds, and dozens of other species had contributed knowledge, technology, and perspectives that no single civilization could have developed alone. How long before we're ready for the next phase? Elena asked. 6 months to complete the scouting missions, another year to build and train the expanded fleet. The Liberation Corps is already recruiting volunteers from all member species. Elena imagined the sight of a truly galactic liberation fleet. Thousands of ships from dozens of worlds, all united in the cause of freedom. It would be the largest cooperative military effort in galactic history. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority transmission. Admiral Chen accepted the communication, and the image of a young Zekri appeared on the screen. Admiral Chen, Ambassador Vasquez, this is Scout Captain Zix reporting from the Far Rim territories. We've made contact with a group of refugee ships. They're survivors from something called the Nexus hegemony. Their entire homeworld was enslaved, but a few thousand managed to escape. Elena leaned forward intently. What's their status? Desperate, Ambassador. They've been running for months. Their ships are damaged and they're almost out of supplies, but they have detailed intelligence about Nexus operations. They want to help us stop what happened to their people from happening to others. Elena and Admiral Chen exchanged glances. This was exactly what they had been hoping for. Allies from within the enemy territories who could provide crucial intelligence and support. Guide them to Refuge Station 7, Admiral Chen ordered. Full humanitarian aid protocols. And Captain Zix, tell them that they're not refugees anymore. They're the first members of the next liberation fleet. As the transmission ended, Elena felt the familiar mix of determination and hope that had driven her since the day Zeth rescued her from the destroyed research station. The work was far from over. There were still billions of enslaved beings across the galaxy, suffering under the rule of empires that believed might made right. But now they had something those empires had never faced before. A galactic alliance united not by fear or conquest, but by the simple belief that every sentient being deserved to be free. Elena walked back to the main assembly hall, where representatives were still discussing the details of their expanding alliance. Seth looked up as she approached and smiled with those large, kind eyes that had first shown her what true compassion looked like. What are you thinking about, Elena, friend? Seth asked. Elena looked around at the incredible diversity of beings working together in harmony, then back at her dear friend who had started it all with a simple act of kindness. I'm thinking about a promise, she said. You saved one of us. We came back for all of them. But all of them turned out to be bigger than we ever imagined.